because yours sounds tremendous. I love my Cheyenne. It's a great little transmitter. I've had DX60s over the years, and but I really want to get that Cheyenne on the air, and I'm going to mate it probably with an R75 ICOM receiver that I have that I've done a lot of mods to. Of course, that one, the one I have, has got a synchronous detector, and I've modified it so it really works, and also broadened out the frequency response some. So that would be a nice little station to mate that with my AL82 Ameritron amplifier. So, but I want to definitely screen modulate it and no controlled carrier. So, very interesting. If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. I'll tell you, Steve, I really would. That'll be a nice project for me to do. And I've got the one that's got the supply in it, the utility supply with the extra bias supply, I guess, the 20. I forget the whole model number of that. It's been a while since I looked at all that stuff, but it all works. So anyway, let me see. Fine on the mic plug. That's a great idea. And good evening to you, Ed. And we're just discussing taxes here. So the tax assessor will be at my little municipal building. Ed knows where I live. It's all farms here, up at the traffic circle at the highway here. He'll be there between 6 and 9 tonight, so I'll go up there with my property appraisal and drop it off and say, hey, look, this is what I'm assessed at. Here's my latest appraisal. What can we do here? So now, the woman that appraised the property said that a lot of times you don't even have to appeal it. He'll just take that appraisal and readjust it. Or you might have to go through a whole appeal process. So hopefully he'll take a look at it and say, if that's fine. Because he knows the woman that did the appraisal. So I'm hoping it'll be a rubber stamp. Hey, you can only hope, right? So over to you, Ed. Good evening. I'm talking to Steve, KB1VWC, up there in Connecticut. So hope you're hearing Steve okay. KA3PTX in the group, W2SDR.
W2SDR in the group, KA3PTX. Very good, Frank, and hello, Steve. I think we've worked. It's been a while, though. Good to hear you. Handle here is Ed Echo Delta QTH Wilmington, Delaware. Running a super senior tonight, 300 watts carrier. Listening to you guys on an R390A. So, very good. Yeah, had kind of heard you guys talking about Heathkit stuff, and I had a beautiful, I think you're talking about Comanche. I never had a Comanche, but I did have a beautiful specimen of the 6-meter mobile rig. What was that called? The Pawnee or the Shawnee or something. Can't remember now. This thing, I picked it up because it was just beautiful. It was mint, the chrome knobs and no pitting. The front panel was beautiful. And probably got it at a Hamfest at some point, but never ever used it. I mean, 6 meters was dead. There was nothing going on, and I just sat in a shack looking pretty for years, and I just took it to a Hamfest one year and just sold it for nearly nothing, like 40 bucks or something, But anyway, the Comanche sounds interesting. I gotta take a look at that. Yeah, I really don't have much Heathkit stuff here at all, besides the Heathkit watt meter, I guess, and looking around. No. Had an Apache here for a short period of time. Actually, my first receiver was an AR3, Heathkit AR3, in a wooden cabinet. I think the AR1s, AR2s, and AR3s were in wooden cabinets. And I had one of those, so I did have that at one time. Oh, and I got the Heathkit SB220 here, so okay, I do have a Heathkit amp. So Heathkit is somewhat represented in the shack here, and Yeah, I texted Frank earlier today. I had to take the cat to the ER, and over $800. He's home now. Seems to be doing a little better, but time will tell. But I overheard the guy in the room next to me. They were talking to him. The doctor was talking to him. I guess it was his dog or something. They said, well, the surgery's going to be like $3,800, the anesthesia and some other stuff $1,500, and then probably another $500 for medications and this and that. And so he was already up to like $5,800 or no, 60. I don't know. It was, and he's like, okay, I guess we got to do it. And it's like, wow. And then it's a pretty big animal hospital I went to. Then there was somebody brought in one of those cockatoos or something. It was going, hello, hello, hello. It was really loud down the hallway. One of these big exotic birds. So anyhow, I'll keep this number moving. I guess it goes over to Steve there, KB1VWC. I guess you're running 100 watts, I think I heard. And copying 100%. Of course, Frank's stronger. He's right across the river from me, and he's running more power, but copy you just fine. And the other thing is, I don't know if you know anything about what's that Heathkit receiver that was kind of a companion to the Apache transmitter. What was it, the Mohawk or something? I think it was the Mohawk. I never hear anybody using those things, but I don't know. I always thought they looked kind of cool. And big, heavy, 60-some pounds, I think, receiver, but I don't know. I don't hear too many people using them on AM. Maybe they weren't very well suited for AM use. KB1VWC in the group KA3PTX.
Yeah, KA3PTX in the group KB1VWC. Very good, Ed guy. I know you and I have spoken before, but good signal up here. The band is definitely changing. I'm getting lots of, QSB and everything, and the snow static's starting to go away, so maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, Shawnee is the 6-meter one. The Pawnee was the 2-meter one. It's 10 watts out of a 6360. The best part of the thing was the modulator in it is it's a push-pull 6DL7. A 6DL7 is a pair of 6 BQ5s and an 8-pin octal data. And they're it's another one of those like the EL34s and an Apache. The audio fools will, go buy a Shawnee or a Pawnee or a Shawnee just to get the 6DL7 out of the thing. So it's one of those kind of devices. I have both of those. They're both, restored, and I've used them on the air. So I got all the green stuff. I have all the Native American line, to be politically correct. How's that? And yeah, the AR3 is not a very good receiver. The Mohawk is the companion receiver, and yes, it is a horrible receiver, as it came from Heath. And it's almost a direct copy of an SX101. I have no idea how they could have messed it up so bad, but it is just a big distortion box. And if you spend probably about 3 hours making modifications to it, it becomes a fabulous AM and sideband receiver. Really and truly, it can be turned into a really nice receiver, but boy, it is out of the box, it's pretty much a disaster. Very good on the cat, $800. Well, a good friend of my younger son is going to vet school now. He's at Ohio State. And I think it's 150 or 160K for 3 years of vet school, and then he's got to do his residency. It's just like being a real doctor, so I understand why the bills are pretty high these days, that's for sure. And, yeah, Frank, I'll see if I paw through my notes tonight. I'll see if I can find the schematic on the Cheyenne. I'll ship it down to you. And, man, with the AL82 amp, you'll get a couple 100 watts out, that's for sure. And it's a cool little rig. It was really well built. The Heath transmitters back then, the Apache and the Cheyenne, they look really cool. The VFOs are quite good. They really don't drift very much. It's a well-built box. The Mohawk and the companion to this was called the Comanche, is the receiver that goes along with the Cheyenne, and that's pretty much as abysmal as the Mohawk is in stock form. So, yep, pretty bad. He didn't make a good receiver until the SB300, and then the SB300 was a really excellent receiver. Actually, far better than the Collins 75S series receivers until like the S375S3C came out, and then they finally fixed all their ABC problems in that. So, yeah, made it look just like the Collins line. So, as we all know. Anyway, back to you, Frank. I don't want to hold it too long. And yeah, I'm running the Cheyenne into a Warrior, so a quad of 811s for about 100 watts into a dipole. W2SDR, KB1VWC.
Yeah, okay. KB1VWC. Whoop, got my monitor on. W2SDR. Yeah, well, it's great. Yeah, I have one of those Cheyennes, Ed. I've had it here for a number of years. I bought that thing on eBay. I don't know how many years ago. A long, long time ago. And it came with a receiver, a Drake 2C receiver. Guy was in Wyoming or Montana or someplace way out there. And I bought the pair, and he had it set up. He used to use it on 10 meters. Now, if you're familiar with that Drake 2C, that's a hybrid receiver. It had tube audio, tube front end, and solid state oscillator and VFO. And the thing is a really nice little receiver. Now, it's not like HiFi or anything, but it's extremely stable. And it's very, very sensitive. And that made a really nice little AM station. Because he sold me the Cheyenne, all the cables, the utility power supply, and the 2C, and a Shure 444 microphone that he used with it. The whole thing. And back when I got it, 10 was still in really good shape. You know, it was in very nice shape. And it all worked. And 10 was in good condition, so I put it on the air. Just ran it barefoot. I was making all kinds of contacts with the thing. And I forget how much I paid, but it wasn't a lot of money. And it puts out a wallop of modulation, this thing. I'll tell you that for that one little 6146, because I've had basically the same circuit in the DX60s. I had Nightkit T150s. You know, it's kind of all along the same line. And but this little Cheyenne, you know, it's got all those gears. I mean, it's very heavy duty, as you know. Much more heavy duty than the DX60s were, as you know, Steve. So, yeah, it's still sitting back there. So it's going to be a nice little project to get that baby back on the air again. Fine on the vet. I stopped there at my vet, and on my way to the ShopRite tonight, and just I had a little bit of a bill from another cat that I had put to sleep. They forgot to charge me, and they sent it in the mail, so I paid that. And I asked them about the cat, my cat that just died, and they had a few ideas, but really not many. I guess the cat's time was up. You know, I don't know, but yeah, you got to draw the line on those the vet bills. But like you said, you have to talk to Bridget, so you know you've got other issues to deal with, but. You know, I draw the line. You know, I mean, it's sad to say, but you got to. And with a cat as old as yours, you know, the line starts to drop down a little bit, you know, for the limit, because anything can happen at that age. It's sad. It's a hard decision to make. It's definitely a personal decision when you have to put a pet down. So, KA3PTX in the group. Nice round table tonight. W2SDR. I'm pretty sure over the years I've talked to you on that when I had it on the air. W2SDR. Go ahead.
Braking station. Go ahead. Who was the braking station?
Yeah, I thought Frank was on keying. It's N2LJO. How you doing, Ed?
Okay, George. Very good. N2LJO. Acknowledged. And the group KA3PTX. We'll send it over to you, George, and then you send it to Steve there. KB1. I think it's VWC. Victor Whiskey Charlie. I think I'd written down Bravo Whiskey Charlie. Anyway, but I think it's Victor. Yeah, very good. Yeah, good on the tax assessment thing there, Frank. Hope that works out for you. I had not a tax issue like that, but I had a, you know, you were over here. You saw my house. We have a little creek in the back. Most of the time, it's like up to your ankles. You know, it's like that deep, ankle deep creek, and but they were charging us flood insurance, like big bucks flood insurance. When I moved in, it was like $700 a year. Then they raised it to like $1,500 a year. I think it was like $2,000 a year now or something. But anyway, I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, I talked to like the neighbors that have been here for like 30 years. Like, they said, well, creeks never come up close to the houses, and I mean, because our house is kind of like on a hill, looking down on the creek in the little floodplain. But I mean, you need to come up like 10 feet. The creek would have to go up from like 4 inches deep to 8 to 10 feet deep to get to the houses, and like, but you could, for some reason, way back they designated this like floodplain area or flood zone, but you could petition the surveyor to come out and do elevation studies and all this, and then, you know, get that piece of paper saying you're well above a certain thing, and you could petition to drop your flood insurance and this, that, and the other. And we were thinking about going down that path, but then we just basically said, screw it, let's just pay the house off. And we're not going to worry about the house flooding. The only people that are requesting the flood insurance is the mortgage company, because they want to cover their butt. But there's like no sense in it, because the probability of a flood, you know, hitting the house is like 0.01%. And so if you don't have a mortgage and the mortgage company isn't on you to keep the flood insurance, you can just say screw it. So that's what we did. So we paid the house off just to get out of it. Well, not just to get out of the flood insurance, but that was a compelling reason to do that, especially since they jacked it up like over double what it was when I first moved in 1998. It's probably triple now. Don't know. Don't care. Steve, on the Mohawk, I guess I wonder what the bottleneck is in that receiver, and just in the final stages of the audio, or is it in the IF, or I don't know. It's about 3 hours of work to straighten it out. And then you mentioned the SB300. He said they got their shit together for that, but I thought that was a sideband CW rig. Maybe it is, but yeah. If I was looking for an old Heath kit, I'd have to cover AM. Let's see. Let's turn it over to George, see what he's up to. N2LJO and the group. KA3PTX.
Yeah, that's Rich's twin brother. Go ahead, George.
All right. Good evening, all. N2LJO. Good to hear you guys. Steve, it's been a while. Nice to hear you out there. I'm just watching out the window. The last of the snow, sleet, or as we called it in Brooklyn, schmutz, come down, and trying to calculate how difficult it's going to be to get my wife and I out of the driveway tomorrow morning. We'll see. We've got a little bit of an up angle to get out, and it's always an adventure. Our guys came by and shoveled earlier, but since then some more stuff has come down, so we shall see. We got about maybe 2.5, 3 inches, 2 inches, I would say, altogether. And well, I have a Mohawk, and I had to get two to get one good one. I got one from a guy up in Massachusetts off of QTH.com, and it was like immaculate mint, not a mark on it, with the chrome knobs. And I already had the Marauder with the chrome knobs, and I already had the Warrior with the chrome knobs. So drove all the way up to Massachusetts. Actually stopped at Rich K1ETP's house, picked the receiver up, brought it home. I was unaware of the legend of the problems that those Mohawks had. So I got the articles from Electric Radio and all, and fooled around with it, and other people fooled around with it. And I just happened to go with a friend of mine to a ham out in New Jersey. My friend was buying, I don't know if it was a Valiant or I think it was a Johnson pacemaker. I think that's what it was. And the guy had a Mohawk under his bench, beaten to hell, but it sounded like my little Hammerland HQ100A, which is for fidelity probably one of the best receivers there is. Not so much for selectivity, but for fidelity, those little Hammerlands are hard to beat. And I couldn't believe it. And it was all beaten to hell, but I wound up buying it from the guy, and I brought it home, and I took the two receivers and I swapped the cabinets and the faceplates and the knobs, and then I sold the outside of the second one with the inside of the first one up at Nearfest. And what I had plays so nice. I don't know if Heathkit did factory assembly, but I mean, there was nothing in there that was played with. And my friend Mark actually just speculated they might have had a typo on a schematic or something that they caught maybe while, in the middle of the production run. Because this thing plays beautifully. None of the problems. And so that's my Heathkit story. Haven't had it on probably in a year and a half, but I will make it a point to fire up the Marauder and the Mohawk sometime soon. Okay. Anyway, here comes Steve, KB1VWC, and the group N2LJO.
N9PVF. Hi, guys.
Hey, Dave. N9PVF recognized, KB1VWC. Yeah, very good ad on the flood insurance. My youngest son, my older son just bought a house in Buzzards Bay. It was 15 feet above sea level, or is 15 feet above sea level. That was the threshold in Massachusetts for whether or not you needed flood insurance. However, due to global climate change, it's now 18 feet above sea level. So if your house is 18 feet or lower than that, you have to have flood insurance. So he's paying flood insurance on this. He is close to the coast, though. He's about 300 feet from the ocean, so it's probably a good idea. And the SB300, does have AM. It's got a 6 kilohertz AM filter in it, so it's kind of narrow. But as far as like distortion and just general usability, it's a real receiver. They did a good job on it. We'll just put it that way. And boy, the Mohawk, yes. There's just all kinds of audio distortion. The AM detector has all kinds of slewing distortion in it. A product detector pulls. The screen supply is higher than the plate supply in the product detector. It drifts like crazy. There's no ABC on the 50 kilohertz IF, so the thing just overloads like crazy. I mean, it's just... And again, if you pull out the schematic of an SX101 and you pull out the schematic of a Mohawk, it's pretty much a dead copy. And I can't figure out how they could have messed it up so bad, but boy. I've done a bunch of Mohawks for people where I've done the 3-hour modification, and they sound great. They really sound excellent. wrap negative feedback around the audio, redo the AM detector with correct value resistors, add AVC to the 50 kilohertz IF. Actually add amplified AVC, so I have about a 50 volt negative supply that now feeds the AVC. So you're not really using the carrier detection to do anything other than gate a transistor to do the IFs. Dina regulate the product detector and fix that, and they sound excellent. I mean, when you stick like a soft one next to the one that I've done the quick mods to, it's amazing the sound quality difference. Maya and I went nuts on the one that I have here. I redid the front end. It's got a pull-in mixer in it. It's got a 68.7 for the front end. The noise floor is like around 4.5 to 5 dB on 10 meters. All the other previous mods, as well as, it's a selectable sideband receiver, so it's lower sideband or upper sideband, and they do that by switching crystals for the second mixer stage. And I added a circuit in there where you're basically flopping those crystals. You're flopping the two crystals on and off at an ultrasonic rate. So you're toggling lower sideband and upper sideband at around 45 kilohertz. So you're sampling the upper sideband, sampling the lower sideband, and you end up with a de facto 10 kilohertz bandpass instead of just the 5 that you would with a normal Mohawk. So yeah, I did all kinds. I kind of went hog wild on mine, but it's my receiver that I use in the shack. And actually, Rich, like you said, George, Rich was down here this summer, K1ETP, and he was listening to the Mohawk, and he said, "This does not sound like a Mohawk at all." And I was like, "Well, thank you very much. It's not supposed to." So I think I'm going to be signing out here, guys. Frank, nice running into you this afternoon, and everyone else, and George. I need to go upstairs. I think we got about 2 inches of snow, I believe, somewhere around there, and I don't know if we're going to get more or not. Who knows? But I'll listen out this evening, gentlemen. Nice running into everyone. And see, it's nice to get home early from work on snowstorms. Then you have to, play a little ham radio. Well, so W2SDR in the group. KB1VWC. Take care.
Okay, Steve, fine. Yeah, my pleasure. W2SDR in the group. And my email is good on QRZ. W2SDR at ARRL.net. It gets to me. So that'd be great. Thanks so much. And, yeah, you're definitely the king of the Mohawk mods. But all those mods can't even be called a Mohawk. That's great. You're a Heathkit aficionado, that's for sure. Good job. Good job. And fine on your weather up there, George. Crappy weather's been here, freezing rain all day. Fortunately, I got a Subaru, and it could pretty much blow its way through just about any kind of weather and snow. I don't have to watch my driveway unless it gets up to about a foot, or else my car could just get right out, and I got a 600-foot driveway, so I don't have a problem with that. But we got some snow the other day, and today was freezing rain. It was a horrible day today. I'm sure you had the same over your direction. Oh, God, David broke in. David, let me get it right over to you, then give it to me. N9PVF and the Grant W2SDR. Sorry, David.
No problemo, senor. This is telling me the SWR is off. Give me a second to hit the tune button. W2SDR, N9PVF in the group. Well, it's still snowing here, and they're predicting, what do I want to say? Another 2 to 4 inches of snow. And we'll see. Anyway, very good afternoon to everyone. Did a little bit of work on different projects. I don't know how successful I was. I got all these parts I just got in the mail. So we're gearing up for the transition to Costa Rica. So I'm going to take a chance it either goes to Rich, Ed, or KB3HT. Frank, would you give me a hint as to which way to send it?
Well, I didn't think Steve was in here. Are you in here, Steve? No, Steve's not here.
And then it goes to me.
And what's his name signed out. Steve, that's Steve, not the Steve that you know, or not the Steve that you're used to anyway. That was KB1 VWC who signed out. So it goes over to Ed, then it goes over to George, then it comes back to me. And then I turn it to you. Go ahead, Ed, W2SDR, as my son calls, because the New England guys say SDR. Go ahead.
Okay, very good, Frank. W2SDR in the group, KA3PTX and 73 there to Steve. Nice catching up with you again. And very interesting on the Heathkit stuff. So, and hello to David. Yeah, very good. I don't know if Steve VWC mentioned about the question I asked about the SB300 Heathkit. He said that was a good receiver. Maybe George can answer the question, but I thought that was this sideband CW receiver. I always kind of liked the looks of those. The SB101, 300, and all that, kind of series receivers, transmitters, but I never had one. But then again, I never hear anybody like on AM. Yeah, I'm using my SB, something receiver. So I just take that as it either didn't have AM capability or it just stinks on AM. So it sounds like at least with the Mohawk, you can make some mods to make it sound better. Yeah, it was a really crappy day because I had to do like many stuff with the cat and take him to the emergency room, and then I had to go to work, or I went to work first, then came home, took the cat, and then brought the cat home, and then back to work, and then I had to go a vendor's site and new cast. I was like in and out of my vehicle like 10 to 15 times today, and every time I was in and out, it was pouring rain on me. So I was like, rain and cold and wind in my face. I'm like, this really stinks. So anyway, hopefully things will clear up soon. I think Friday I saw on the news 58 degrees here, so that'd be nice. Hopefully things will dry out a bit. Not going to hold it too long. You never know when the band's going to drop out. And we got a pretty big group here, so N2LJO to take it. KA3PTX.
Alright, I left the hole just in case. KA3PTX and the group N2LJO. 7-3 to Steve, good to hear you. Haven't worked in a long time. I don't keep a log really, but I know it's been a while. And, well, if anything was done to the Mohawk that I have now, the second one, there's really no evidence. And it plays really nice. I actually got from the second guy the wooden Heathkit speaker, and it really sounds as good as any of the Hammerlins that I have. The little Hammerlins actually sound a little better than the big one, but and I didn't do a thing to it, so it worked out well because I got one that played well and is in immaculate condition, because that's really how I like. I don't buy all beat up stuff. I just don't like it. It's got to be nice to look at while it's off, as well as functional while it's on. But those things are definitely overdue to have some electricity put through them. The Marauder and the Mohawk. I've been spending so much time out in the garage. It's all been on the workbench working on this Ico. And then the Ranger that I've been working on, that's still on the bench. I'm waiting for a few parts to come. So I haven't been spending any time in my little boat anchor shack out there to fire that stuff up. But by the same token, typically I would only go out there on weekends, and the band has been in a crapper. So I don't know. Hopefully we'll be getting to a point where things will start on an upswing. I don't know if we're at the tail. I think we're right in between maybe the tail end of the last cycle and the start of the next one. So, and hello to David. Almost forgot to do that. So, according to my list, it goes back to Frank. And yeah, Frank, good luck with the tax reduction. That always comes into play. I tell people, if you see a property and the only thing you don't like is the taxes, send it to me anyway. And I can find out if the taxes can be reduced. And there's a guy who does that for people, and he doesn't mind that we call him. And he looks it up. He's got all the assessment rolls and everything. And he could tell us, what the assessed value translates to in terms of a market value, because most of the towns are still not on 100% value. And I've had people go ahead when they knew that they could get a reduction, even though they wouldn't get the reduction for like 14 months, because there's a filing deadline, and then it takes time to be approved, and then it kicks in the following year. So I hope you get your reduction, and then to freeze it, that's even great. That's even better. Wow. So good luck with that whole process there. W2SDR in the group, N2LJO.
Yeah, okay, George. Thanks. N2LJO in the group, W2SDR. Yeah, I'm going to head up there now, so I'm going to find a sign by the time I get up there and get there early and come back home. If you guys are still on, it shouldn't take me too long to drop off this appraisal. And, yeah, it's a very comprehensive appraisal I got. It's 16 pages. They have comps for other houses in the area, what their taxes are, what they sold for, everything. So my mind's been too high for too many years here. I don't think there's any question about it. And so I'm hoping whenever it can take effect, it could, that if I get it lowered, I want to freeze at that rate. So tonight's the first step. So I live in a very small little area, very rural area. The assessor is only up there for 3 hours once a week. So from 6 to 9. So I'll head right up there. It's only 3 miles down the road, and bring a copy of the appraisal, seeing what he has to say. So if you guys are still around when I get back, if not, maybe David, I could catch you up on 160 or down on 160, whatever. It sounds like you're on the ICOM, 746, so it just may be a little bit overmodulated. So over to you, David, and I'll only listen out here for a few minutes, and I got to get going. N9PVF in the group, W2SDR. WA1HLR.
Okay, Sir Timothy. I'll pass it to you in a second. All right, Frank. Well, if I couldn't fool you, I probably couldn't fool anyone else. But anyway, good luck on the reassessment. And George, if you're still sticking in, very good evening to you. And Rich, as whoever. So I will be here probably the 7th, and then I'm going to snowblow, and I'm probably going to be so tired after that. I'll see. I'll set everything up for 1945, but I don't know if I'll actually do anything. I'll just come down and pull switches. Sir Timothy, how many feet of snow have you gotten in the Arctic Circle? WA1HLR and N9PVF.
Okay, yay. I go to, yay. There we go.
everything tuned up on 3885. And I didn't hear much of anything going on up there, and spun the dial down here and heard Frank. I figured 3705, put on the scout, put the 05 crop still in there, and very, very low frequency beat notes, so I knew that was good. Well, I don't know. Depends on what you consider the Arctic Circle. I guess that's 60 degrees at the 90. I'm almost at the 45th parallel. I'm like 44 something or other. And there's that much less snow on the ground in terms of accumulation that is stuck around compared to last year. Last year got pretty brutal. The year before that, very brutal. And the year before that was mild. And you go up north to Monticello, where I was last week, you know, people are pissing and moaning that it's deeper than it's ever been. And, you know, you look out the windows of the BCQ studio trailer, and the snow is almost up to the windows. That's how deep it is. And they're going to get maybe about a foot tonight. And we're supposed to get probably 6 inches, maybe a little more. So I've been running around getting prepared and doing things, and I'm kicking back and having a spot of tea. And that's the story, and I don't know where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's my turn. KA3PTX. Let me see if I got it. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, very good, Tim. WA1HLR in the group. KA3PTX 73 there.